Hey, what's up everybody? This is the latest video in the tutorial playlist for setting up a new planted aquarium. If you'd like to see how this tank was set up, I'll leave a link in the description for that video. Today, I'll be covering what you need to do for a little bit of a more involved cleaning on your planted tank. So far, I've gone over simple weekly cleanings, but once a month or so, you'll want to do just a tad more. Overall, this whole process took me about 20-30 minutes, so don't worry, you won't have to cancel your weekend plans to stay on top of this little aquarium. I'll also talk about stocking a small planted tank like this one. There's a lot of conflicting information out there when it comes to stocking a tank, and that really is an important topic to understand, so your livestock can remain healthy and you can enjoy a vibrant tank. It's been about 6 weeks since setting this up. The tank is completely cycled, the water quality is great, and I've even added some livestock. As you can see, the plants have grown in a ton. Initially, I wasn't sure what this plant in the back was, but after watching it grow in a little more, I've decided it's chainsword, otherwise known as Hylanthemum tenellum. Step 1. Trimming. So the first thing I'll do, as with any maintenance session, is turn off the heater and pump. Then I like to start by trimming plants. For dwarf hairgrass, just go along the top and snip. This will promote grass sending shoots, plus it looks nicer to have short plants in the front and taller ones in the back. It allows us to see our full tank and creates a sense of depth. For other plants like this Java fern or cryptocoryne, you should cut off specific leaves from the base of the plant rather than giving them a haircut. Step 2. Netting debris. It's very important to net up all the debris because they'll start to break down and release ammonia in the process. Step 3. Scrub glass. Make sure to scrub that glass down even if you don't see any algae because it will prevent it from forming in the future. I like to do this before draining the tank because I'll siphon a lot of that algae that's been dislodged into the water column. Step 4. Siphon. Now drain the tank down about halfway. Use an aquarium siphon to get down there and pull out all that gunk from the substrate. Your plants should have enough of a root system developed after 6 weeks that a light siphon will not pull them out. Step 5. Clean the filter. Take out the pump and filter media. Open the pump so that you can pull out the sponge and impeller to clean everything. As you can see, this sponge is fairly dirty. If all these parts aren't maintained on a somewhat routine basis, they will gradually stop working. In order to keep your system running at a consistent level, stay on top of filter cleaning. Rinse the filter media out in the bucket. Never use hot water for ceramic rings or biological media because that will kill all the beneficial bacteria living in them. Step 6. Refill tank. Use water that's about the same temperature as what's in your tank and add some dechlorinator as the water is filling. I know a lot of people worry about when to add dechlorinator. If you're using a faucet adapter, you can do it before or while you're filling the tank. If you're using buckets, just add dechlorinator to the buckets, give them a mix around, and dump them in your tank. Step 7. Polish glass. Last but not least, polish the glass off for a crystal clear finish. I use a sponge to wet the glass down with water, then a towel to wipe it off. I think it works just as well as paper towels and glass cleaner, but it doesn't cost anything. This step is really important for enjoying a clean tank. And staying on top of this will get your house guests commenting on how crystal clear your aquarium looks. Alright, it's time to pick some livestock. If you've been following along with this playlist, your tank should be completely cycled by now and ready for livestock. There are so many different fish and shrimp to pick from. Some are hardy, some are finicky, some stay tiny, while others get ginormous. How do you know what will do well in your tank? You can either do the research yourself by browsing the web, watching videos, reading articles, or you can ask someone at your local fish store. Here are 4 main things that I think about when considering livestock. Size, temperament, flow, and temperature. Size. Most of the fish you see at the fish store are juveniles. Depending on the species, they could have a ton of growing to do. A common misconception is that it's okay to put a large species in a small tank because they'll only grow to the size of the aquarium. Cramming fish into small tanks results in unhealthy growth and decreased lifespans. They tend to hide a lot and don't display the same vibrant colors or behaviors that counterparts with enough space would, or they panic and spend a lot of time frantically swimming up and down the glass. Something that I don't feel people talk enough about is mental stimulation. Fish can get bored, and when they don't have enough space to explore, they'll just end up sitting in the same spot. I mean, where else are they going to go? Temperature. This one's really simple. Do a quick Google search and see what temperature range your fish can live in. If you keep live plants, it's a good idea to stay on the cooler end of your fish's range because plants tend to like that, and it will discourage algae growth. For most tropical fish, that's going to be somewhere between 74 to 78 Fahrenheit or 23 to 26 degrees Celsius. Flow. River-dwelling fish can take a lot of flow, but fish that come from stagnant water like bettas don't really do that well with high flow. The fluval flex doesn't create a lot of flow, so you don't have to dwell on that with this tank, but something to consider if you're using a strong canister filter or sump. Temperament. Make sure your fish get along. Sometimes this process is a little bit of trial and error. A specific fish that might work in one person's tank might not work in another, even if they are virtually identical setups. That's because fish have different demeanors or personalities, if you will. Some are more dominant or aggressive, while others prefer to avoid conflict. Some fish are schooling, meaning they like to be in groups with their own species, while other types of fish might not get along with their own kind, but be fine with other species. A male betta is a perfect example of a fish that often does well in a community tank, but will fight to the death with another male betta. At the moment, I have a couple of rabbit snails in here and a lyre-tail killifish. I'll likely move the rabbit snails to a sand-bottom tank because I think they're having a hard time moving around on top of this grass. But since they're a very recent addition, I've only had them a couple days, I'll wait a few more days to see how they do. This killifish is a timid species and spends a lot of time hiding. I'm wondering if this guy might benefit from having some ditherfish. Ditherfish are outgoing fish that spend a lot of time swimming out in the open rather than hiding. This sort of behavior can draw out more timid fish, a safety in numbers kind of thing. For a tank like this, Fluval Flex 15, I'd recommend going with a group of small schooling fish like celestial pearl danios, chili rasboras, harlequin rasboras, neon tetra, or Von Rio tetras. If you go with small schooling fish, you can also pack the tank full of shrimp. Shrimp are really fun to watch, and they help keep your tank clean. I'd add some, but I think this lyre tail would make quick work of them. If the shrimp fits in a fish's mouth, it will eventually end up there. A betta would also be a really good match for this tank. You just wouldn't be able to put shrimp in there. Granted, I've heard of people keeping shrimp with bettas. I've never had one that didn't hunt them down though. If you're not feeling confident about how to stock your tank, leave me a question in the comments or ask your local fish store employee. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you feel prepared to be a good fish mommy or daddy. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you've enjoyed today's content or found it useful. I'll see you in the next one.